In the Fuzzy Memories podcast, we celebrate the good, the rad, and the fugly of the 80s and 90s.
We're three latchkey kids who made it out alive.
And in each episode, we break down all the culture that popped, 1 year at a time.
Whether it's the birth of legends...
I'm Lyme disease free today, and I have Whitney Houston and MTV to thank. Or audacious moves.
Imagine also the poor Golden Gate Bridge. You turn 75 and people have a party on you.
Yep. I don't want that.
Or even confusing PSAs.
And the stop, drop, and roll. I mean, I assumed
Yes.
as an adult I would catch on fire weekly.
All the time!
We've got a take that will make you laugh.
We've also got thoughts on all sorts of random phenomena and the most unmitigated of golf.
Why sharks can't be trusted, people can't be trusted, and rivers can't be trusted. It's collusion.
Of the highest degree.
Uh-huh.
You were counseling me to start my remarks with, first of all, bitch.
Everyone in that room would have snapped to attention.
It's going to be basically coffee lids, shark revenge, and then maybe like Matt Getz. God, we need to do something about him.
Join us every other Wednesday to celebrate the hits, the misses, and the misfits of the weirdest decades.
If I could tell my 14-year-old self from 1990 that I would be eating in a cheesecake factory in
Beverly Hills.
I'd be like, we did it. We did it, Joe.
We did it.
Listen and subscribe to Fuzzy Memories on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and your favorite podcast platform.
Hey, Broads and Books listeners. We are going to be at the Des Moines Book Festival on March 28th.
That's right. And not just there. We are going to do a live podcast on the main stage.
Live and in person.
In person.
We are so excited to meet some of our listeners and share some new recommendations with you. Plus, this festival is going to be huge. It's hosting some big names, including Taylor Jenkins Reid.
What?
Chuck Klosterman.
Come on.
Tayari Jones.
Yeah.
And Laura Prescott.
You know it.
So many of our faves.
You can also be a part of the event by submitting a question that we might answer live on stage.
You could be name checked on stage.
On stage.
So if you need a good book recommendation, or you're curious about us, you have a question, submit that to us at admin@broadsandbooks.com, and you can find that email as well on our website. Submit your question by March 26th for a chance to be featured at the event.
Mark your calendars and get ready for a great time with the Broads. Hello, and welcome to Broads and Books, the podcast with one unique theme, 4 hand-picked book recommendations, and 2 broads. I'm Erin.
And I'm Amy, and this is episode number 54, Cult of Personality.
So we have some exciting news.
Yeah.
So technically last episode was like our 1 year anniversary.
It was our 1 year.
It was.
We didn't get each other a gift for our 1 year.
That
what
seems
is the
about
one?
right, doesn't it?
Fair enough. Yep. We don't need to do that.
No, I think is it like paper?
Sure.
Okay.
We give each other paper all the time. Yeah.
You've given me lots of
Oh,
books.
so many papers.
And so
Yeah.
many books.
So many books.
Yeah.
There we go.
Handled.
Yeah.
So we thought that we were going to mix it up a little bit in our second year.
Year 2.
And don't get afraid. We're not going that crazy.
No.
We just came up with a new way that we're coming up with themes.
You bet.
That we think you're really going to like because it's going to bring in a whole nother area.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is each week one of us is going to pick a song. And then we're both going to pick recommendations that we think relate to that song.
Which is great because we both love songs.
Yeah. Yes, we do. Yep.
We like the music.
Sure do like some notes put together in an arrangement.
So this week we're actually doing a listener suggested theme.
Yes.
One of our great listeners suggested cult classics.
Yes.
So knowing that we were going to do songs, I immediately thought of the song "Cult of Personality" by Living Colour. If
sure
you have not had the pleasure of hearing this song, which those of you who are significantly younger than us or older than us probably have no idea what I'm talking about.
Right.
It is a 1989 classic. The video is everything you could want and more. So I'm gonna include this in the show notes.
You really need
I will
to,
say that it is, the song itself is great. It's rocking. It's wonderful. And then in the video, you see these beautiful men in. We had a long conversation about what to call this garment of clothes.
Yeah.
It's sort of like a unitard with legs.
I argue that it's more like a scuba outfit.
It's a jumpsuit,
A jumpsuit, we
if you
consider
will.
jumpsuit.
Yeah. It's neon green.
It's neon green.
Yeah.
It's something.
It's really something.
If you we're gonna, like Amy said, we're going to link to it in the show notes. So if you check it out and you have a better way to describe that garment,
please let us know.
Let us know.
Yeah.
Let us know.
Yes.
We might even have to do a poll this week on what that could actually
what
be.
is the word
Yes.
for this. So yes, the song is called Cult of Personality, which in itself, this song is kind of a cult classic. So we're talking about cult classics this week. And Erin, what do you think? How would you define a cult classic?
I think, to me, a cult classic is just something that is particularly beloved by a group of people.
Yes.
Like, as in, if you don't love it, you can, like, you're going to get excommunicated. Like, it's a big deal to
It's a
a
big
certain
deal.
group of people.
Absolutely.
So something, so I think sometimes cult classic kind of has that definition of, like, something underground or not as well known.
Yes.
But I don't necessarily
I think
that
you're right.
has to be the way it is.
Because there's so many movies that, for example, that were big movies, but they maybe didn't do as well as, studio projections thought.
Right.
But they were still very popular. But
Yeah.
in certain people's minds, they're cult classics.
Yeah, they're
Same
just,
with books.
Absolutely,
Yes.
yes. And I don't necessarily think they're not well known. They're just,
Yep.
a lot of times it can almost fall into a category where we have strong opinions on each side. But
Yes.
or sometimes it just comes down to personality, if you will. Some people like something, some people don't.
I was going to give you a high five for a transition award, but we know how that went last time, so we're not going to do that.
No.
Let's just
No.
keep looking at each other and not touching. How's that?
That that sounds like how it should be. I've never had anyone put it to me so bluntly. Let's just look at each other.
like
and
you.
not
Let's
touch.
just not touch. Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah,
That's
great.
fair. So, Amy, can you think of a time when you were younger that you liked something and then maybe realized there was another group of people that also liked it?
You bet. And in fact, it relates to music. Like,
Okay.
When I may have told this story before, but when I was in 8th grade, I started going to this school for nerds, really. It was it was a school that you went half the day, and Erin is losing it.
It just sounds like the start of a movie. School for nerds.
School for nerds. It was, kids all across Des Moines that had received a certain score on the ITBS. And so we were all identified as whatever.
So it was
nerds.
a smarty pants
It was
school.
a smarty
Was it
pants
a nerd
school.
Smarty pants.
It was nerdy too,
Okay,
let's be honest. Yeah. So I went there half a day from 8th grade to 12th grade and took, advanced classes, whatever. Great stuff. However, one of the main side effects was meeting other nerds around the community and finding that they loved music as much as I did.
Oh.
So we passed around a lot of cassette tapes.
Yeah, you did.
And some of it wasn't even like current stuff. It was, like 60s and 70s stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And so I really felt like, people understand me. They get me because they like, Janis Joplin and they like Jimi Hendrix and all
right.
that. Which, it's not that mind blowing now, but I'm a kid. I'm discovering this stuff and I'm realizing other kids like it too. And it's great. I did, however, find there was a limit in that I loved Tommy by The Who, which I talked about
right,
before.
yes.
And that's a real weird one. That could have easily qualified for cult classic. But I didn't really find anyone else that liked it.
Oh.
So that was just me being a lone nerd. Loving
you were your own
Tommy.
cult.
Which is how it should be.
Yeah.
I should just be my own cult.
Yeah.
But welcome some people who are going to listen to me, too. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the great things about this new idea is that you and I, it's going to really illustrate some more differences.
Oh, boy, it
because
really is.
Our tastes in music are, again,
They're
like
different.
books.
Yeah.
They overlap in some
Yes.
areas.
There's
in
like a
other
Venn
areas.
diagram where
Yes.
Lizzo is in the center,
Oh,
and then the rest of the circle, very, very different.
Yes.
Very different.
Very different.
A question for you, Erin.
Yeah.
Thinking about cult classics, is there anything that's a cult classic that you just can't understand?
Yes. I want to make sure that there's no objects around you that you can throw before I say this.
Like, you gonna go against David Bowie?
Oh my God, no.
Good.
Jeez.
God,
I don't want to be murdered while I'm on air. Come on. No, I don't. This is why I said the definition about cult classic, because I think you either fall in the group that loves this or you just don't get it.
I'm getting nervous about what this is.
It's Star Wars.
Ah!
I know. No, it's so personal to you. You love it. I know so many people that do, including people in my own family, my own kids. There are people. I don't get it.
Have your kids disowned you yet?
No, that's
should.
Not just for that. I mean, let's be honest, but I don't get
just
it.
don't get it.
I've tried.
Yeah.
I really have.
Do you think did you watch it when you were a kid?
No.
And maybe that's part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the problem.
Because objectively, if I look at some of these movies, they're not that great, but I loved them so much as a kid.
Yes. And that I can understand because there's movies like that I watched when I was younger that now I'm like, ooh, but they were wonderful and they'll always have that place for me.
Yeah.
And it's just something I feel like there's just two camps.
I think you're right. Because if you said that to someone else, you might get punched in the face.
Yeah,
so
no,
be careful.
I am.
Don't spread that around.
Yeah. Listen, if you feel like you're going to send me hate mail about the Star Wars thing, I get it. You feel strongly. You love it. You should revel in that love. You're not going to convince me.
No, and that's
I'm sorry.
okay. Yeah.
And also, if I were going to be convinced, do you know the time commitment at this point?
It's a lot of time.
I mean,
you're going to have to
I'm
catch
way
up a
behind.
lot. And I'm going to have to tell you like everything you're going to need to know in the order in which to watch things. It's going to be exhausting.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
This, in fact, came up recently when you were around,
Yes.
Mike, and he said, I've watched to this point, and then the people in the room that were big fans of Star Wars were like, no, you're doing it all wrong.
Yes.
And I just got overwhelmed, and I just zoned out. I was like, I can't.
You're like, I got to get out of this conversation.
Yeah. So the numbers don't mean anything, but I still need to know what order these movies.
Exactly. Yeah. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
You people love it. That's great. You should. I mean,
Are you trying to walk back your
no,
your
I'm not.
statement?
I can't.
Okay.
I mean, I'll give you Adam Driver. I mean, that you did right.
So there you go.
Baby Yoda, but I don't think that's in the movies,
No,
right?
it's
that's
not.
just in a
and
weird show.
I refuse that.
Yeah.
part.
I mean, I just think it's funny because he keeps showing up in memes. But
And we have talked about how much we love Adam Driver.
Yeah.
So there we go.
yeah, so there's that. I did love the SNL sketch of Adam Driver as Kylo Ren as
It was
an undercover
wonderful.
boss.
Did you understand any of it though?
Yeah, I
besides
mean, I
the-
get
okay.
the gist. I don't know that it's like, too
It's not a lot.
highbrow.
No,
that
no,
you
it's
can't
not.
understand when someone's like blowing someone up with a
Yes.
laser. But,
Yes.
Yeah.
With their oh dear Lord. Okay.
Is it not a laser?
It's not a laser. No,
What is
no,
it
no.
called? The look of disappointment on your face. If there was ever a time that Amy questioned everything we're doing, it was you guys just witnessed it. It was the last 10 seconds. She was like, "What?
Oh dear
What
God.
would you call it?"
It's a lightsaber.
Oh, a lightsaber. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. With his lightsaber. My bad.
Okay, we got to move on
Yeah,
right
we do.
now.
Sorry.
Ask me another question.
Sorry. So can you think of a time that you thought you were on point with a trend, but you were way off?
I sure can. This has seared itself into my brain. So in the late 1980s, at some point, I don't remember when this was a trend. I don't think it was. I thought it was, though. I really wanted these white boots with fringe on the side.
Okay.
Do you ever remember a time in which this would have been cool? I don't know if there was a if there was like a pop star that was wearing these. I have no idea. Somehow I got it in my brain that this was going to be it. Like,
Yeah.
if I got those boots, I was going to be cool
Yeah.
AF. I got the boots.
Oh boy.
I put them on, and I felt so fucking fine. I felt good. I felt
good as
amazing.
hell?
Yes.
Okay.
Then I walked into a building in which, with my family, and there were glass doors, and I caught a reflection of myself, and I was like, nope, 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 nope.
I love that it was you seeing yourself. It wasn't someone else.
No, it was me seeing myself in the glass door. I was like, oh no, I have miscalculated. This is terrible. The fringe is like flying around my legs, and oh god, and it was right at the start of wherever this was, and I was like, I just want to take everything off. I just want to go home.
Yeah.
I couldn't go home.
No.
I never wore those boots again.
Never again. Oh man. That was
I think
great.
some of it was I didn't have a great self-esteem at the time, so I imagine just seeing myself in
the confidence,
in a little bit
yeah.
of risque. Not risque. No. What word am I trying to think?
like a trendy thing.
A trendy
it always
thing.
feels like you need an amount of confidence to pull off a trend.
And I did not have it.
Yeah, I can get there.
Yeah. So that was my boots story.
Wow. I mean, I just went into a place I didn't expect. It's just you seeing the image and being like, "Oh no!"
And also, I don't know why in the world I would have thought that boots with fringe were something about me. Like somehow that related
that
to
is,
me.
yeah.
It's not in any way.
No.
I don't know. I've made poor mistakes, as we've said. Those sorority years, like everything. There's been some miscalculations for sure.
But it's all on the path to learning.
Yes. Yeah. What about you? Can you think of time?
Yeah. So when I first went away to college, I thought like that I had a good understanding of like fashion, which in and of itself was misguided because I went to a private high school, so I wore a uniform. So to even think that I understood was off. I was off.
I've never thought about that before, that even just the act of going to college and then suddenly having to dress yourself every day. That's a lot.
Because I wore khakis on the first day of college.
Okay.
To my first lecture.
Yep, sure did.
And I sat down and I got out my notebook and I looked next to me and there was a lady wearing Tweety Bird pajama pants. Eating cereal right out of a box. And I was like, okay. I look like I should be going to work at Eddie Bauer right now, not in a college lecture.
But also, let's say the Tweety Bird pajamas, bad move.
Yeah, that was an extreme. But then that extreme forced me to look around, and I was like, wow, there is no one else in khakis.
Wow.
Like, there's not another pair.
Nope.
The professor had on a tweed jacket. He also didn't have khakis on, though. He had on jeans.
Oh, boy.
And I was like, I overdressed for a college lecture on my first day.
But you know what sucks about that in my memory, too, is that's all you can think of. No one is looking at you. No one cares.
And it was like it was the biggest thing. It was bigger than my entire high school, the number of people in that, and I was like right in the middle. I just blended in. But I remember thinking, well, great. Now I have to try and get home in between classes because I can't go to my next class like this. So, yeah.
Wow. Was the rest of your wardrobe all khaki pants too? Like, had you miscalculated that badly?
I mean, I had some jeans because like we had jeans days where you could like raise money for a charity and you got to wear jeans by giving $1. Yeah, I thought I was going to kill it. And it was right away evident to me that I miscalculated.
Yeah.
Misfire, if you will.
I've never thought about that, about people like having to wear uniforms and then suddenly you go out into the real world, and I'm putting that in quotes. And like, how do you even start? What do you do?
And I wore a uniform my whole school career, elementary, everywhere. So it never occurred to me to like not wear khaki pants to class and be prepared for learning.
See, my high school is very different, where I had routine situations like those white boots again and again and again, where I thought, oh, this is awesome. Everyone's wearing this. And then I look in like the bathroom mirrors like, oh, God. What happened? What did I do? Huh.
Come on.
Yeah. Real bad.
Yeah, that's too bad.
Well, guess what? These cult classics that we're talking about are not misfires.
No. They're great.
So my fiction pick,
tell me,
is called If on a Winter's Night a Traveler by Italo Calvino.
Wow.
From 1979. There's an English translation from 1982.
Okay.
And by the way, I think I've mentioned a lot of books already. I think we probably both have that could be cult classics.
Yes, absolutely.
Like I think the book I mentioned in episode 2, I Love Dick. I think that's a cult classic.
Yep.
I think The Master and Margarita.
I was going to say that. Yeah.
I think The Bell Jar. I think there's so many that we've talked about already. This one maybe flies up under the radar even more. So this is one of those rare books that uses a you, to talk to the reader, and it works well. I think we've talked about that when you actually brought up the book You, that it's a real gamble to do that. And sometimes it doesn't work. This one, it works. And in fact, that is sort of the whole point of the book too. So the book starts with you, the reader, as you buy a new book, which is called If on a Winter's Night a Traveler by Italo Calvino.
Okay.
So you, the reader, you're super psyched. You're getting into the story, and Calvino writes that story. But after a short amount of pages, maybe 30 or so, the story breaks off. And you, the reader, have discovered that your copy is corrupted. You just get the first few pages over and over throughout the book. So you're like, oh, shit, well, what happened? I was getting really into this book. So you return to the bookshop, and you find out the volume you were reading is not actually that book that you thought you were reading. It's another book, and it's by a Polish writer. So you have to decide, do you want to go to the Italo Calvino book, or do you want to read this other book by a Polish writer? So you go to that book.
Yeah.
So you pick that book, and the same thing happens. You start reading, and it's another story, and it breaks off. So this happens again and again, but it's not just happening to you. There's another reader named Ludmilla, And soon you and her are pulled into an adventure where you're trying to figure out what the hell is going on with these books. So the book is a bunch of different stories interspersed with the reader, the you, trying to figure out what the hell is happening and growing closer to the other reader at the same time. I love the book because of that concept. I think it's so great.
Yeah.
It's real weird, and it is so unique in its structure, and the fact that there are sort of 10 of these stories interspersed with the you and the other reader. But also I love it because it's just about reading. It's about how you can fall into a book and you're willing to go wherever that book takes you. You know, I think it's about our love of literature. I think it's sort of challenging that idea that like why we commit to books, why we love it so much, why it speaks to us in such a way, how reading can sometimes be frustrating too because it's not happening the way you want it to.
Right.
So, you know, there's all these other stories, but I think that's the main story that I really like from it. I think it's all about like, you know, our increasingly like unrealistic to be read piles too, because there's a part in the book where he is describing, he goes into a bookstore and he's sort of like seeing, okay, this shelf is books that were made for purposes other than reading, and this book is, or this shelf is books read even before you open them, and this shelf is like books that I need to read, and this shelf is books that I should read, and so it's everything we've sort of talked about too, the whole idea of reading. I think this book, because it's written by an Italian author, because it's, you know, a little less well known, it's become a cult classic over time, and because of the way that it's done. So I really enjoy it.
Well, it reminds me of two things.
What?
First, you showed me the book, and the pages, the type font, that is cult classic. Don't you think?
It is.
It's
You're
like
right.
The font is that when you get an old book, like at a half price bookstore or a garage sale or Goodwill or something, and it's got that old style library font in it, and the pages look a little yellow. That just screams cult classic to me.
You're right.
'Cause it's like you found this
Good
book.
call.
The other thing that it reminds me of that I kept thinking of this week with cult classics was choose your own adventure books.
Yes.
Did you ever read those? Oh my gosh, I loved them.
I loved them too. And at the same time, they would make me anxious.
So anxious.
Right?
Yes. Yeah.
And for those of you may not remember, choose your adventure. You start a story, and then it says, if you make this decision, go to page 72. And if you make this other one, go to page 33. So you can end up reading all these sorts of different stories, and I would get anxious because I'd want to just read them all.
Yeah.
And I want to know what's the right story.
I tried to find when Evan was kind of at the appropriate age for it, I tried to find those for him. Like I figured, they've modernized them, which they hadn't.
Really?
So I found a bunch of old ones from like thrift stores and stuff. And I was like, this is...
Did he like them?
Yeah, he loved it. Yeah.
It's such a cool thing. Yeah. Especially I think when you're a kid and you're realizing like literature can be for you and you can make up stuff. Yeah. I loved that.
Yeah.
So
very
cool.
good. Very good. Well, the fiction pick that I brought for cult classics is to me a cult classic because I read a lot of mystery thriller.
Yeah.
Like almost I think sometimes genres can become cult classics in a way.
I think you're right.
Because there's people that like only read that or are very particular about the way that they take those. And really, really well written, I feel like mysteries or thrillers now are becoming almost increasingly rare. Yeah. And when you find one, I mean, with a select group of people, those books are devoured. Like that word travels fast because when they're done well, they're just gripping. And so this is actually a whole series.
Ooh.
And I will tell you that I spent a good portion of my prep time for this week making sure I hadn't mentioned this before because I cannot believe that we got to episode 54 and I had not ever recommended these. Ooh. I mean, I couldn't believe it. So much so that I almost had to listen to every episode.
We've actually done this a lot where we keep meticulous records on what we have done and what we've talked about.
Yes.
But there's so many times you and I will have a conversation. So we think, we have had to talk about this. We've had to talk.
Yeah. No, we haven't. Yeah. So it's called the Dublin Murder Squad series by Tana French.
Ooh.
And the first book was published in 2007 called In the Woods. Now you might, I believe, I don't know if it's on Netflix or Amazon. I'm not going to get that right off the top of my head, but they just did like a limited series called the Dublin Murder Squad that's based on these characters. But what she does is like you get to know characters in one story, and then in the next book, one of those characters will be like the main character and the other ones will fade away, and it keeps progressing. So it's a new story, but some of the people are revolving. So like I said, the first book, In the Woods, was published in 2007, and I found this
read
book.
that, by the way. I really enjoyed it. I
so
didn't
good.
stay with the series, but yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
so good. And actually, I mean, some of the other ones are more favorites of mine than even that first one, but I stumbled upon it randomly at Target. A random story. I had gone home or to my parents' home, and I had forgotten the bag that I had my books in. And so Mike and I were just like,
Devastating.
I know. So we just went to Target for some other stuff. And then I was just kind of looking, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. And I bought it and I devoured it. It was so good. So the first book, you're introduced to Ryan, who is 12 years old, and he heads into a forested area to play with some friends. And after a while, no one comes back, and Ryan is found with his back pressed against a tree and his shoes filled with blood, and his two friends are never found. So then you fast forward, and Ryan is now a detective on the Dublin murder squad and is basically intent on keeping his identity a secret. So no one knows that he's that kid. He's kind of switched around his name. And he and his partner, who also happens to be his closest friend, Cassie Maddox, start investigating a case that is all of a sudden way too similar. It's forcing him into this position that in order to solve the case and confront things with his past, he needs to be upfront. So, that moves forward. In the next book, you get to know other characters and they're great. The stories themselves are amazing. And that's why I picked it for Cult Classic, because I think when you do this so well, I mean, like for me, I'm a fan for life, whatever she writes. And she's, there are 6 books in this series, and she's written a couple standalone novels too. So Washington Post called her the most interesting, most important crime novelist to emerge in the past 10 years.
Wow.
So one of my favorite quotes from In the Woods: I had learned early to assume something dark and lethal was hidden at the heart of anything I loved. When I couldn't find it, I responded, bewildered and wary, in the only way I knew how, by planting it there myself.
Oh,
I got goosebumps.
Good Lord.
Yeah, it's so great. So I think that police procedural sometimes, or that mystery thriller,
they can be very procedural. They can be very
Yeah, but when they're done well, they're irresistible.
I like too that you mentioned series, because I think that's where a lot of cult classics can start too, is if you're willing to, follow that author through multiple books, you can become it can become a cult classic, and you can, exhibit the syndrome of, being in love with a cult classic.
Yes. I have recommended this book, In the Woods, to quite a few people who have come to me and said, I was an avid reader like when I was younger, and I just haven't found something that keeps my attention now.
Great.
And I'm like, if you can handle, a little bit of mystery and thriller, these are great, because it'll grip you in. And I think it kind of gets over that stigma of, it's written it's Dublin, it's not United States. So you can kind of get over some of that a little bit. That can scare readers off from great things. So I love that series, and I cannot believe I haven't talked about it before.
Yeah.
But it's great.
And also, that's really cool that I love when we can find books that can, appeal to readers and not regular readers alike, you know? And
absolutely. Yeah.
That's excellent.
Also, when I was researching, I found out that now there's a box set of all these 6 together.
Oh.
Yeah.
You have to get that now.
Dang it.
Yeah.
Now I have to buy that.
Do you have all of the books separately?
I think I do, yeah.
But now you need the box set.
Now I need the box set.
Yeah.
Because when you publish it as a box set...
They were doing that with DVDs for a while too, before streaming really hit its speed. But where I would collect all the Buffy the Vampire Slayer DVD sets by season, and then it would come out with some deluxe box set. I'm like, well, god damn it!
Yeah, what did I
now I have to buy this.
Come on!
Yeah.
Just saying.
Well, for other genre pick, I actually chose a nonfiction book that's all about cult classics.
Ooh.
So the book is called Best Movie Year Ever: How 1999 Blew Up the Big Screen. Did you read this?
Yes. I bought it
oh my God.
2 months ago, and I just read it.
Brian Rafferty, 2019.
Yes.
I'm so glad you read it. Yeah. Isn't it so cool?
It is.
So we probably all remember 1999.
Sure
do.
There
was Y2K. There was terrible fashion, as we've talked about.
Yeah.
There was college for us. But also there were some really incredible movies that, and I think this is the point of the book, is that so many movies that year really changed movies forever, changed the future of movies. Some of them became huge hits. Some of them became ultimate cult classics.
Right.
And that's what I really liked about this book. So some of the movies they cover are like Fight Club, The Matrix, Office Space. That's a huge cult classic.
Yeah,
The
right?
Blair Witch Project, The Sixth Sense, Being John Malkovich, Boys Don't Cry, Magnolia. I mean, so many freaking good movies that year.
Yeah.
So this book brings them all together and shows kind of how on trend, how incredible and revolutionary that year was. All these small and big films taking risks, which I think is kind of the theme, that all of them sort of, they saw what had been done before and they're like, let's do things a little bit differently.
Yeah.
Let's go for this.
sure.
I think the book talks about these movies and more, not just the ones I mentioned. There's interviews with the stars of the movies. There's interviews with the writers and directors. It talks about all the things the movies did that made them so unique. And it does talk about massive hits, too, like the Star Wars prequel that probably Mike thought was the first movie to watch. And it was not the first movie to watch. It was shit. So it does talk about those as well.
Yep.
Ignore that. Just ignore that chapter. It's fine.
Okay,
I
it's
allow
fine.
you to.
Okay.
Yeah. But what I really enjoyed was the dives into some of the smaller movies.
Yes,
that became cult
absolutely.
classics. And it made me think about that year and all of my crazy movie-going experiences, seeing them that year. Like, I remember seeing Fight Club with my mom and one of my brothers, John. And for we went to dinner afterwards, and the whole dinner we're like, what in the, how, trying to dissect the movie. It was so great. The Matrix, I saw that 3 times in the theaters with my brothers. Magnolia, I think that and Boogie Nights was when I really got into Paul Thomas Anderson. Like, he just creates these amazing, so rich movies. And Office Space, I watched that so many times as I started entering the work world afterwards and realizing, oh yeah, this is life. This is it. Yeah. Being John Malkovich. Just so much WTF throughout the movie. Did you see that one?
Yeah.
And it also showed how you could just be really, really weird and get away with it.
Yeah.
And I've taken some of that spirit into my own writing sometimes too. So this was a big year, not just for movies, I think, but for really
writing.
all art.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So great book, great list of movies to watch. What would you add, Erin, from reading that book?
You nailed all of it. I remember thinking when I read it that I don't remember seeing all of those movies when they came out, but I've seen them all. But I remember seeing them later or recognizing that. And I mean, I'm Office Space. I mean, as a cult classic, you can't find memes from any other movie more often than Office Space.
And that one may be a traditional cult classic, and it didn't do very well at all in the movie theater. And then it went on to movie and DVD fame afterwards.
And to me, that's one of those, when you talk about cult classics, that, like you said, you don't really get until you get it.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
You don't.
Until you know. And then you're like, oh.
Because I bet if I had watched this before I was in the work world, I'd be like, okay, that's funny. I don't really get a lot of it. And then the minute you're in corporate America, you're like, I get this.
Yes.
I want to beat up the fax machine too.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, great pick.
Thank you.
That's another time we read something we didn't even know we did it.
Yes.
Together.
It had a great cover too. It was like all the characters from some of those.
I bought it.
So, good idea. Yeah.
I feel like I admit too many things I buy on there. Keep it locked down. All right. So for my other genre pick, I picked this one before I say it because I feel like this hits cult classic on a couple different levels, and I feel like it relates to the song. I picked Kitchen Confidential, Adventures in the Culinary Underbelly by Anthony Bourdain.
Oh, boy.
And this was published in 2007. I think that the culinary industry has had kind of like moments, Top Chef. There's a lot of those competition shows, and then it gets serious again. But ultimately, I really feel like this book is a cult classic because it's not just about making you love the industry or telling you everything good about it. It's like it's just raw. It's honest. It's his coming up in the culinary industry. It's his life. It's his issues with, drugs. So it's one of those just like really in your face, basically autobiography, memoir, whatever you want to call it. And I think that that's a cult classic because I think taking that step and being a celebrity, that wasn't cool yet. Like that wasn't a thing that you did.
Yeah.
And he put it out there and didn't care. And I think that was kind of Anthony Bourdain's whole, personality was kind of that way. And I picked it for that because of the person that he was. Also because he started out writing novels and didn't write Kitchen Confidential until after he started.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I didn't know
he
he's
has
a
like
novelist.
2 detective novels that
Oh my
came out
gosh.
before. Yeah. So it's very well written because he understands. I mean, he has a good background of writing. So, and he's really trying to tell a story and not just, it just so happens to also be about his time in restaurants. I actually read this after his suicide.
Really?
Yeah. And so I think for me, it even had even more of this kind of gripping element to it where he's kind of trying to explain away some of his behaviors or maybe act aloof about certain things. Obviously, I think a lot of people love this book, but I think it appeals to a really direct group of people that just really enjoy that honest, raw writing.
Sure.
And for me, when you picked the song Cult of Personality, there's a line in that song that says, "A leader speaks, that leader dies. I exploit you, still you love me." And to me, that is kind of the definition of Anthony Bourdain.
Yeah.
He was everything to so many people. But being everyone to so many people kind of takes that out of you. You don't have anything left, or maybe you're not doing the self-care that you need to because you're so concerned with filling this role for everyone.
Yeah.
And I think that about like his show, Parts Unknown, was a cult classic. I mean, people that know him or followed his career love him.
I think it's a good pick because, I felt like when he did die, there was this massive outpouring of grief that I personally didn't quite understand because I'd never really read anything by him. I'd never watched his shows. But he seems like sort of the definition of like when you get it, you get it. And when you love something and someone, you do.
And I think for him, I don't think if I had read this book earlier, I would have understood it, but I watched his show a lot and I liked it because it's so interesting the way that he attacked some of those things and went in. And it's based on food, but he's going to these parts and he's having chefs explain things to him and why they do things the way they do. And he's willing to try anything and he just immerses himself in the culture. And I think that's such a good lesson.
It is.
Especially for, someone that generally tends to be in the majority in terms of an ethnicity or race, to see someone just say, you can just learn. Like you don't need to, it doesn't need to be some big production.
Yes.
And he did that so expertly and showed so many other things that were so interesting. And it made you want to visit those places and learn more about those places and really look at that food and enjoy it. And he ate the weirdest things and never said a word. And it was amazing.
That's so cool that he used his platform to sort of open up the world to a lot of people.
He did. But that was also like a cult classic show because there's people that didn't enjoy that or didn't think that held value.
Wow.
But it really did. So, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah, it was good. I really liked it. So.
Well, thinking about cult classic shows, actually, for pop culture, I picked a show. And I felt like I had so many options here, right? And so many of the things that I love have kind of been defined as cult classics, like Twin Peaks. That's a major one. Battlestar Galactica, Orphan Black, Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I feel like you are the walking embodiment of cult classic. Like the movies, TV shows, books.
Yeah.
Like you, I feel like you could be the person deciding what a cult classic is.
I'll definitely
like you
take
could
that.
have an internet army and be like, look, this one's good. Take it.
And my internet army would be way better than Bernie Sanders or Trump's internet army.
Well, yeah. Bernie bros.
Yeah, they're gross.
Come on.
Gross.
They're clearly not doing quality reading, or you would know better.
Yes.
Check
you know
yourself.
what? You're right. There's
Check
so many
yourself.
times I think about like internet trolls and stuff. I'm like, you're not reading enough. You need to know more empathy. You need to learn how to care about people.
And just how to spell. Just spell. If you're going to threaten people, at least run it through a proofreader. Come on.
Check your insults. Come on.
There's one way to have me not take you seriously in a death threat situation.
Yes.
It's spelled death wrong. Okay? Get it together.
This is a good point for whenever we issue death threats to whoever we're issuing them to.
Yeah.
People who deserve it, for sure.
Obviously.
Yeah.
I've never written one down because that's your first mistake.
Exactly. Writing it down?
Yeah. Come on. Watch a procedural.
Watch some freaking Dateline. Jesus.
You don't need to leave evidence.
God.
I'm in Italy. Anyway,
Wow.
I'm so
Yeah.
sorry.
Wow, we took a turn there.
I really just took
None,
over your
yep,
moment.
and none of that relates to the show. I'll just be honest.
well,
But
all right.
here's a good one. So it's a lesser known cult classic that is available on Hulu. It's a very short binge. It's called Party Down. Have you ever seen this show?
No,
oh
I've
my
never
God,
even
you
heard
would
of it.
love this show.
Really? Okay.
Yes, it ran from 2009 to 2010, just 2 seasons,
Ooh, all right.
10 episodes, about a half hour each.
Okay.
This had Adam Scott. I love Adam Scott so much.
too.
Yes. Lizzie Kaplan, Martin Starr, Ken Marino, Jane Lynch. It was created by Rob Thomas, the guy that did Veronica Mars.
Yeah.
And Paul Rudd. Yeah. What? So you see a ton of guest stars from Veronica Mars, from like previous movie. You know a ton of these people in this show.
Okay.
So the show revolves around this group of cater waiters in LA. All of them,
Already in.
Yep. All of them want some sort of Hollywood success, whether it's films, comedy, whatever. But it's not happening for them. Mm-hmm. And the grind of working these catering gigs with Hollywood assholes is driving them insane. That, and picture their outfit, okay? It's black slacks, white shirt, pink bow tie.
Yeah, it
Yep.
is.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Henry is the main character, played by Adam Scott. Again, I love me some Adam Scott.
He's terrific.
This is glorious. This was pre-Parks and Rec days.
But still so good.
Yeah. So his character was in a successful commercial with a catchphrase, and now everyone, when they see him, they always demand it. That was his only acting success. So he's sort of said, okay, I'm done with acting. I'm just going to commit to being a waiter. Sure. Just giving up. Giving up. Then there's Casey, who is the other main character, played by Lizzie Kaplan. She's a comedian. She's fighting, like, she's not getting her Comedy Central thing. She's not getting any of this. These two develop a truly hot relationship. I'll just say right now. One threatened mostly by their own sense of failure.
Oh, well, yeah.
Surrounding them are the best ensemble cast really ever. It's the dumb blonde guy who's been in a lot of family sitcoms, is like auditioning for Palisades, which is like the OC, you know.
Okay.
Like
Yep.
There's a failed D-lister, Jane Lynch, who her main stories are playing like hookers in, you know, in like Gene Hackman movies from the 70s, and having a lot of sex and cocaine. There's a recovering alcoholic and terrible boss, Ken Marino. He's just trying so hard, and he really wants to get his franchise of soup or crackers off the ground.
Why is it soup or crackers?
I don't know.
I want crackers with my soup.
I know. So each episode revolves around a ridiculous party. Okay. There's a Sweet 16 celebration on a boat. There's a suburban orgy.
Oh.
There's a mingle for senior citizen singles.
Get it?
Called Seniorlicious.
Oh, God.
There's an investor meeting that goes terribly awry. So the whole like setup of this is just genius.
Right.
And the idea that none of them should be on their phones during this party, all of them should be working, none of them are doing it.
Right.
It's so wonderful. So it's very funny. It's very bleak too, but it's really, really hilarious. I think it's become a cult classic because it was a show on Starz before Starz really had Outlander and some of its bigger shows,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So no one really watched it. And no one in the cast was really a big star, you know?
Yeah.
But since then, I mean, every single member has gone on to incredible stuff.
Right.
And Adam Scott.
And also,
Adam
Adam
Scott.
Scott.
Adam Scott.
Who's a cult classic.
He is a cult classic. And again, if you don't like Adam Scott, I got nothing to say to you.
We're done.
Yeah. So no, I think you would particularly like
okay.
this. It's got real weird humor.
Yes.
It's
You know
it's
I love some weird humor.
Yes, it's delightful. I think Mike would like it too.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm all in.
Great.
All right. Well, I picked a documentary for my cult classic, and for a couple of reasons. One, I think that this one has the makings of being a cult classic. And two, I think that because I talked about the kind of procedural mystery thriller thing at the beginning part, it related for me as well. And three, because there's an internet element, which to me is sort of a lot where a lot of cult classics are born now, is like this kind of we need to find people, and you know, we're reaching out on the internet, and you got Facebook groups and things like that for these things. So this documentary is called Don't Fuck with Cats. And it's on Netflix. It's 4 episodes.
First off, let's just honor that title.
It's amazing.
Really.
Yeah, it's
if
amazing.
Podcat were still around, she'd be really happy with that.
She would be, yeah. Because, which I didn't understand. Okay, so the documentary starts out and it explains that we all know that the internet can be dark and weird, twisty things can happen. But they're interviewing some people that are big parts of like internet chat rooms and groups. And they said that there's an unwritten rule on the internet called Rule 0, which is don't fuck with cats.
What?
Yeah. And basically it's this idea that if you think that it's okay to do any kind of animal cruelty, abuse, anything like that, it's over. Okay.
This is the one you told me I can't watch.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I might back that up a little bit,
Okay.
but I'll explain why.
Yeah.
So essentially what happens is that they're following this story. Someone posts a video, and you may know this story because it was all over the news. This Canadian by the name of Luca Magnotta posted a video of himself killing 2 kittens.
Oh,
yep. And it's the whole, they don't show the whole thing in the documentary, but the whole video was posted online. So obviously,
why would you post that? First off, I mean, why kill him first off? But then second, what the hell?
So we're dealing with a like high level narcissist, real crazy. So he posts this. People lose their minds, right?
God.
And they want to figure out who this guy is because the way he did the video, you can't really ever see his face. And it's done in a room that's really nondescript. Like you get the idea like it's a motel or something that they're going to move on. So this group of people comes together in an internet group that basically wants to use their sleuthing skills and find this guy. So they're like going frame by frame and being like, okay, that poster, where can you get that poster? Or this pack of cigarettes on the bed, where's that from? Okay, well, it has a surgeon's warning, so he had to buy him in the US. So he's not here, he's not there. Like, okay, well, in the meantime, what you're finding out is that this guy is liking this attention of these people. So he's upping the ante and posting other videos. And so this internet group is starting to freak out and be like, okay, this isn't, I mean, we already knew he was crazy, sicko, but like this is progressing.
Yeah.
He's going to go somewhere else with this.
That's the first step of a killer.
Serial killer.
Yep.
And lo and behold, he does.
Oh my God.
He posts a video of himself murdering a human being.
What?
Yeah. Of Lynn June is the victim's name. He was in... he's from Canada. Was he in Japan? I don't remember exactly where he was when he murdered him. Yeah. But he mailed the body parts to the government in that country. Yeah. And then all that was found of this guy was a torso. Oh. And he posted the video. So that's what the police had to use to watch. And so then this internet group was like, hey, we've been tracking this guy. We found all this other videos, things that he's posted on the internet. This is all the information we know about him. Like they basically gave the police a leg up on some of the information and some of the things that they thought that they learned about him. So the documentary takes you all the way through that. It brings up some questions of identity. It brings up questions of like, what role did these internet people play in like pushing along the kind of the narcissism of this guy? Because they're unfortunately by like being so outraged, they were kind of giving him an audience. Yeah. So they all kind of struggle with that. No. They talk about that. There's a lot of interesting things about how they caught him because it was an international. I mean, he eluded police for a long time because he had other identities and he was able to move through countries, and it's mind blowing. The sleuthing that this group of people did on the internet through Facebook will blow your mind, and it'll make you think you should probably go live in a cabin off the grid. And secondly, just him. It is. Wow, it's crazy. So I had originally told Amy she shouldn't watch this because there's 3 different videos of things that he's done to animals, and they don't show the whole video, but they show the beginning of it, and that was enough for me because you see the kittens alive and you know what's going to happen. God. So I turned away even during that part until I knew that part was over. Yeah. And I can't take away the fact how horrible that is to watch and how hard it is because it's bad, but the bigger purpose and the bigger thing that we're seeing
that's not the main focus of it.
I think it's kind of a payoff, but I could see how for some people it would be a trigger and it would be too much.
For sure. But knowing that maybe there are those scenes going in that you can maybe turn away or turn the volume down or whatever and then stick through it because there will be some justice. And
it was very interesting to see how strong of a reaction he got from so many people and all the different areas this went and the interviews that were done and the people, it's fascinating. Wow. If you like true crime documentaries, if you like just stories about people, I mean, it is.
You said this is Netflix, right?
Yes, Netflix. And it's 4 episodes, so it's really... and it's, and if you like stories with resolution, like you don't want to watch a whole thing and then find out they still don't know where the body is, don't worry, you get resolution. Okay. So, Okay.
Oh, first off, terrific title.
I know. There's a part on everything. I want you to watch it just because... At the end, there's this twist that I'm like, what is happening?
Wow.
What is happening?
Okay. Maybe I'll do it. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. I don't want to upset you though, so then I feel weird. Like as a friend, I feel protective. Like I don't know if she's
There's as listeners know, Podcat is no longer with us. Yeah, and it's been tough because she was always around here, and when we're recording, she was letting us know that she was here. Yeah, and I will say that. I have been hearing her a lot, which I know is one thing about grief, like especially when you're used to having a pet around. But I also think maybe she's a ghost. And 100%,
I
really like
this.
that idea that she is full on haunting this house.
Yeah.
And that maybe, even though she's no longer physically around, she's still going to try and murder you somehow.
Yeah, no, I think it's probably more likely now because I think she doesn't have to deal with physics.
Right. She doesn't have to deal with
my
physics.
chances went
You're not going to
significantly
see her.
down. Yeah. It got worse for me.
So this podcast may end in, you getting murdered by the ghost of Podcat.
Yeah, it might be your own Netflix documentary. A long, drawn-out thing.
And when she does, like, push you down the stairs with her little paws, her ghost paws, she's going to say, don't fuck with cats!
Yeah, exactly. That's what she's going to say.
Yeah,
it is. It's something. I'm just going to tell you, it is something.
Okay, man, that's... I'm glad that you, because the main message that you had told me last week was, don't watch this. So I'm glad that you were a little more clear on what is involved. Yeah.
But I did want to be clear with viewers, too. Like,
yes,
if you
that's good.
don't handle that at all well, then maybe just read, like, a synopsis online of
there you go.
Yeah.
Don't watch the images.
Just get the gist.
Yeah.
Or reach out to me and I'll tell you what happened.
Perfect.
Yeah. I don't want you to hurt your tender eyeballs.
So you talked about a cult classic in the making.
Yes.
Because it's new.
It's new, but I think it's going to be a cult classic.
We did talk about how we were not great on trends when we were younger. Maybe now, though, you're calling it.
No, probably what's going to happen now is it's going to come out that the whole thing was fake or something. I'm going to be totally, you know what I mean? Like, that's my luck.
Yes, we're going to have to come back and just kill this whole episode.
Be like, hey, guess what? I was off base. It turns out that the lady that did the documentary was actually the killer. So I'm terrible at this, and I will never speak about it again.
That's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm taking a gamble.
I'm supporting
right now.
it.
I'm on this side of the law, so we'll see which way it cuts.
Well, I think that's what we got.
Yes.
You know what we're going to do now?
Yeah.
Read one of our reviews.
Yeah, we are.
It's a new thing we're doing.
Yeah.
At the end of the episode, we're trying to talk about emails that we're getting, reviews that we're getting, and just highlight some awesome listeners. We also mentioned this was listener suggested, so thank you, Kaileah. This was wonderful.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. And here, which one do we want to pick, Erin? Maybe this one?
Yeah, read that one.
Okay. This comes from Tickle Talk, which I really want to know more about that name.
I do too.
I don't know if this is.
If you're listening, Tickle Talk, by the way, I just want you to know you've been a topic of conversation.
You have, because this review was submitted a while ago, and we have often looked at this and wondered: is this a human being? What is this?
What is a Tickle Talk?
Yeah, well, Tickle Talk, whatever she or he or it is, says. I have to bring my microphone over here.
Moving microphone.
I'm moving the microphone. This podcast cracks me up. You can tell you're listening to two authentic people that have a genuine love for books and treat each other like siblings. I think that's fair.
Totally fair.
Yeah. I appreciate the balance between fun and depth as they explore all sorts of interesting book-related topics. I've already taken some of their recommendations, and I've been pleasantly rewarded. I'm hooked.
Tickle Talk.
God, that's amazing.
It's so amazing.
I mean, beyond your name. That's just a wonderful
you had
review.
to set Tickle Talk, but then, I mean, come on. And I feel like he or she really nailed the essence of us.
I think so too. That's why I chose that one, because it's spot on. Yeah, I don't have a sister. You feel like a sister.
Yeah, exactly. Same. Yeah. I will say that if you would like to be the person that we read your review, you got to submit it.
You got to
send it in.
Whether it's via email,
Yep.
whether it's on Apple Podcasts like this one was,
Yeah.
whether it's on Podchaser, whether it's via our social medias.
Yes.
Reach out to us.
Wherever you can find it.
Yeah.
Do that. In the meantime, happy reading.
I'm up again. Same night, another dream. Before trying this recording thing, I didn't remember much of anything of these dreams. I didn't remember much from any of the women. And one night of doing this, and it's broken things open. The dreams they're in me, and they're coming out of me, and
Talk to me. I am not broken. I am the most whole, most real.
their despair. I cause their despair. I wait for the word. I wait for the word. Witch. Witch.
Look at the mad woman in her cage. She was a woman with holes inside her. That was the heaviest factor, the final evidence, the heart of the issue.
Somehow, you understand this. You hear me. Wherever you are, whatever this is, you...
This isn't a dream journal anymore. It's not. It's just fact. Because now this is some sort of record. What are these dreams? Maybe there's a better question. Who are these women?
Weird Woman is a Broads and Books production. All 9 episodes are available January 10th. Listen and subscribe to Weird Woman on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and your favorite podcast platform. That's WYRD Woman, wherever you listen to podcasts.